Let's talk about the child behavior of pulling pants down. That's a very difficult, sometimes a little bit embarrassing behavior to have, but it is manageable. I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, how to build strong family bonds, and child development, all through the lens of the principles self-government. And in this video, we're talking about pulling our pants up. In this behavior, we're going to talk about why this happens to some children, why they decide that pulling their pants down is a good idea for them, and how you can handle it proactively as well as reactively if it still occurs. So developmentally speaking, children do feel like their bodies are amazing because they are. And sometimes they want to show other people their bodies. Sometimes they feel like showing other people their bodies is some sort of next step to something new. There was actually a scenario that happened with my oldest daughter. She was over at a friend's house. The mother was babysitting my children just for a bit while I went on some errands. When I came back, the mother came out to me. She was mortified. She's like, "I have to apologize for something. I'm so sorry." And I said, "Okay, what happened?" I mean, I was suddenly like, "Oh, did we have blood? You know, what occurred?" And she said, "My son was playing with your daughter, and he suddenly said that he wanted to marry her, and then he said in order to marry her, he needed to show her his parts, and he, pulled his pants down." She said, "I had no idea this was happening. I walked into the room and he was standing there with his pants down." And she said, "I'm so sorry." And she said, when I asked him, basically that's what he said. And so, of course, I'm talking to my daughter. They're 4, okay? These children are 4. So in the child's mind, like he'd put together, well, mom and dad share the same room. Like none of us show our special bodies to each other. We don't go into the same room together and change our clothes, but for some reason, mom and dad do. So I guess that if I want to marry this girl, I've got to take my clothes off in front of her. Anyway, this poor mother, poor child. I don't think he had a habitual problem of this. But what I'm saying is these types of things can occur. We don't know why they're processing the things that they are. And it is, it's hard. It's embarrassing. We don't want our child to expose themselves to other people. We don't want them to get into that habit for sure. So those are innocent circumstances. We can handle them by talking about how this is a no answer. And we can teach them the skill set for accepting a no answer, which is one of the teaching self-government 4 basic skills. The 4 basic skills of self-government are taught in these 4 children's books. You really do need all 4 in order to get all of the behavior and skills training to be able to be self-governed. The 4 basic skills of self-government are following instructions, accepting no answers and criticism, accepting consequences, and disagreeing appropriately. This book here, Porter Earns a Quarter, teaches the skill accepting no answers. How do you accept a no answer? You look at the person or the situation, you keep a calm face, voice, and body. You say, "Okay," or you ask to disagree appropriately, and then you drop the subject. So if you've told your child, "We don't take our clothes off in front of other people," that's a no answer. Then if they still took their pants down or their clothes off in front of somebody else, then they are not dropping the subject, which is the final step to accepting a no answer. And then you would need to do a correction. And I talk about how to do those corrections in my TSG parenting course, which is on my website, teachingselfgovernment.com. Another reason that people might pull their pants down is because maybe they have something that's uncomfortable. Some people just don't like clothes. I mean, that can be a thing. It's not as usual because we're putting people in clothes from the time that they're just born, right? But there are some people that, that itch and uncomfortable, and they start adjusting their comfort and not remembering that they're with other people. This can happen to some children that don't have good social awareness. So sometimes people that are on the spectrum or maybe have other different processing styles that they're dealing with could end up not remembering that they're with a group of people when they're dealing with how they feel with their body. So then they're just trying to solve a problem. They're not trying to actually do anything embarrassing. They're not trying to expose themselves to other people per se. They're not thinking about it like that. They're more uninhibited when it comes to modesty because they don't recognize that anyone's even looking at them. They're just thinking about how they feel, what they want, what they need to do. I actually had a conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and she said that there used to be a guy that lived in her neighborhood who actually got in trouble with the law. He had a lot of special needs, and he would just occasionally, be trying to get comfortable with his clothes, and all of a sudden he'd be pulling them down and rearranging them in front of other people. And he wasn't trying to expose himself to other people. He was just trying to get comfortable, but he would do it in front of other people, and the law enforcement kind of had to step in, and they had to take some action with his parents, like really monitoring that. He couldn't go out in public without somebody with him after a while because it was just becoming so common, which is really unfortunate that that's the case. But if somebody doesn't understand modesty and what other people in society are expecting, it puts them in a bad circumstance. Actually, it can actually repel people, which means that then other people would not be willing to help them or, connect with them because they may not understand what's going on. We don't always know what's happening. In those cases, the person can still learn how to accept a no answer. They can still learn their boundaries. They can still learn to drop the subject. If they get a thought in their head about I'm uncomfortable, they can learn to stop and think to themselves, okay, why am I uncomfortable? It's my clothes. Can I take my clothes off in public? No, that's a no answer. I need to drop the subject about this. I've got to stop thinking about this. I've got to use my skills. They can learn to do that. You might have to coach them through it at first. So what about that child that just likes to take their pants off because they're attention seeking? Because that's a thing that can happen. Sometimes they even do it because they're trying to gain social control in some way. You like to show some dominance thing. I would say this is more of a male thing or a boy thing than a girl thing, okay, for them to do this. But again, it's a no answer. So if they have been told, we do not do that, that is a no answer. Here's how we'll correct it in the future. And hopefully you do have a method for correcting it in the future. And if not, my TSG parenting course can help you. But hopefully they know I need to drop the subject about this. If I feel like I want to show my friends something that's in my pants, I have to tell myself that's a no. If they don't, you've got to correct them. They need to see that there's a negative consequence for that. I think it's also important, as you're trying to help them understand why this is not a good thing, to actually help them see how other people might be processing it. I know some people maybe pull their pants down because, to urinate, and they'll just do it in front of other people and they don't think anything of it. I have been in foreign countries where people literally just walk right past me on the sidewalk and they just, literally right behind me, they stop, they drop their pants and go to the bathroom off the edge of the sidewalk. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Do they not understand how people process this? And the answer is probably no. Nobody has taken the time to tell them, this is what people think. They're actually grossed out by you. They wonder, where are you going to wash your hands after you just did that right in front of me, So they don't understand how the world processes it. It's up to us to do that teaching for them ahead of time. If your child does not accept the no answer, if they don't drop the subject and instead they keep dropping their pants, you do need to be consistent with your corrections. Even if they have special needs, they process differently, they need to learn the cause and effect with this behavior. That's super important for their social success. It is a parent's job to make sure that their child is socially acceptable. They will fail in life if you do not help them become socially acceptable. This means that you need to teach them proper social skills, not the ones they learn on TV or from their friends. That's not good social training. There is more that I could teach you about self-government, about these skills of self-government. There's a class that I recommend that you take. It's on this channel. It's a full-length class. It's called The Not So Known Secret for Parenting Success. So please click on the link to that video next. I'll see you there.